Hello, 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 and welcome to my live stream. This is my Thursday live stream. And for this Thursday and for the last several Thursdays, I've been talking a little bit about the Narcissism 101 definition so that, you can understand the vocabulary so that you understand the type of personality you're dealing with. And that way, when you go to negotiate with that narcissist and try to get out of that relationship with the narcissist, you will have an understanding of who it is that you're dealing with. So I'm not a psychologist, but I've certainly dealt with these personalities for many, many years. And I've done a lot of teaching myself and learning about these different personalities so that I could understand what the hell was going on myself while I was representing these people in their divorces. And also now that I'm helping to coach people, I do strategy calls and I coach people from literally all over the world on how to deal with narcissists in their lives. Sometimes, many times, the people that I'm talking to aren't even divorcing the narcissist necessarily. They may just be dealing with one, or maybe they're trying to get out of a business relationship with a narcissist or something like that. So narcissists are everywhere. I always say there's a pandemic of narcissism. I believe that there is. I think that there are narcissists everywhere. We're pretty much surrounded by them. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this Thursday live stream. I'm Rebecca Zung. If we haven't met before, thanks for joining me here on my channel. If you haven't subscribed, now is a perfect time to do that. Just hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And that way, when I go live, you will be notified. On Tuesdays, I do my Ask the Attorney Anything sessions. And on Thursdays, I've been doing this Narcissism 101 series. And then the other days of the week, I upload brand new content for you. So I am so committed and so passionate about helping all of you get out of these relationships with these narcissists in a way that allows you to feel unscathed and whole, hopefully, right? So I see that I have people here from, I have somebody from Cape Town, South Africa. I think it's Renchi. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. And then I have Sharon from Charlotte, North Carolina, and Ashna from Louisiana. Hi, Craig. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Emily. This is so great to see all of you here. So let's talk about trauma bonding today. And trauma bonding is an interesting thing. It's like, how can you feel bonded to a person who has abused you? And that's basically what trauma bonding is. And I've seen it so often in my practice. I recently had a meeting with a client who I had helped him with his divorce. And now he has a girlfriend who is very, very abusive to him. His now ex-wife is actually trying to get the children back from him or reduce his time sharing because of how toxic his girlfriend is. And here he is facing the prospect of potentially losing his children, or at least having his time sharing be very much reduced. And yet he still cannot give up this girlfriend. I mean, he's just so trauma bonded to her. And how can you be trauma bonded to a person who has been abusive to you? Well, the first time that I saw an explanation about that was in this book, which I've done a whole video about the Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist and this book. So if you haven't checked that out, go check out that video that I've done, and I'll drop a link to that below. But in this book, Debbie Mirza talks about the concept of intermittent reinforcement. And that's what happens when you're dealing with narcissists. You get this intermittent reinforcement. And I talked about that in the 3 separate videos that I did on the different stages of a narcissistic relationship, which is love bombing, devaluing, and discarding. And so you start off with love bombing, and you're getting this love bomb, love bomb, love bomb. And then they start devaluing, but then they go back to discarding. and or love bombing, devaluing, and sometimes it's love bombing during the discard phase too. So it's kind of like love bombing at the beginning and then discarding at the end, and in between, it's a toxic stew of disaster, a vortex of craziness. So, but what happens is, according to a psychologist named Robert Sapolsky, he talks about how these monkeys were tested and they were only given treats intermittently. And if they got a treat every single time, the dopamine levels in their brain didn't do anything, nothing happened. But if they got a treat intermittently in a variable way where they didn't know when they were going to get the treat, then the dopamine levels rose in their brains to the level of cocaine. So in other words, they get this pleasure release just because of the anticipation that they might get the treat. And so that's what's happening in our brains when we become trauma bonded to this person. You actually become addicted, according to these professionals, to the need for their love bomb. You want to believe that, and you become kind of codependent on them in that sense. And so that's what trauma bonding is, and that's what makes it so difficult to get out of the relationship and become like, okay, like I teach you how to develop a strategy and create leverage. And I just did a video on leverage. If you haven't checked it out, go check that out. But if you haven't been used to being on the offensive, it's so foreign to you to even think about, geez, I can think about something for myself. And part of the reason why it's so hard is because of this trauma bonding and this effect on your brain. Your brain literally becomes like scrambled eggs or something because you're so bonded to this person. So I just want to take a second and read a couple of your comments. I see Leah from Missouri, and I see, Micah is calling, watching me from a hot tub in Merritt Island, Florida. How awesome is that? Isabella from Poland. Ashley says, I really feel for people who have no knowledge of this and are judged by their loved ones. And that is so true. I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people just say, why don't you leave? Why don't you just get out? And I know sometimes from my own perspective as a divorce lawyer, I'm looking at people going, why in the heck would you be staying? And it wasn't until I understood this concept of trauma bonding that it made it so much more clear to me why people don't leave, why they feel almost addicted to staying. And I actually even spoke with a client this morning who was all ready to leave because she had found out that, it looked like her husband had been cheating and had been withholding a lot of information from her, which is, a lot of typical narcissistic behavior. And yet, he found out that she knew some things and that she was potentially going to leave. And she said, oh my God, he's been so wonderful this whole weekend. And this week he's back to the man that I married. He's sending me flowers. This guy's love bombing her big time to get her back under his web of control. And even as she's telling me this, that, maybe she might want to do a postnuptial agreement instead of a divorce and things like that, she's also saying to me, gosh, his words don't match his actions. And she's still saying, hey, basically this guy is still exhibiting all these narcissistic traits. But the love bombing is like drawing her back in. He's using all the right words that he knows that he needs to use in order to get her back into his web of control. So it's very difficult sometimes to think about, gosh, I can leave this person and I can be okay. They want you to think that you're not going to be okay without this person. I mean, they spent a lot of time working your brain to make you dependent on them and think that you're nothing without them, and think that you can't, that the world is going to be against you, think that everybody else thinks that they're wonderful and you're the one that's crazy. You know, they do this number on you. It's almost like deprogramming your brain from being in a cult in a lot of ways. So I see somebody here from Sydney, Australia, and I see Terry saying they destroy your every out. Well, they do try to, but there's always a way out. I actually was just coaching a guy this past week who is dealing with a narcissistic business partner. And he was like, I just don't see a way out. And I told him there's always a way out. There's definitely always a way out. It's just feeling that strength and understanding what's going on with your brain. Because once you understand that and you go, okay, it's really hard for me to leave because I'm dealing with trauma bonding here. This is what's happened to my brain. And once you start having that realization and you can see it and you can name it, then it makes it so much easier for you to recognize the signs when they're happening and start to pull away from it and not have it be controlling you as much as it had been in the past. So I said, oh, what was that other option other than divorce? So you can always do a postnuptial agreement. You know, what I was referring to in my particular client's case is that she had a prenuptial agreement, and we were talking about the possibility while he's in the love bomb phase of taking advantage of that, ethically manipulating the manipulator, and seeing if he would be willing to renegotiate the prenup into a postnuptial agreement that would afford her a little bit more financial stability if she ever did decide to leave him. So that's what I was talking about. So Karen Smith says, Hoover in progress, trauma bond broken. That's so good to know. That's so good to know. So once you start to recognize it, oh, they're hoovering. Oh, I see what's going on here. Oh, I'm feeling pulled back in because of my trauma bonding. You know, it's so much easier to start, you know, stepping back and seeing it as almost like an outsider would, rather than the emotional aspect of it. So anyway, so that is trauma bonding. I'm so excited that all of you were here with me today on my live stream. And I love seeing where you guys are all calling in from, viewing me from all over the world. I think it's really incredible. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please take the time to do that now. Just hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're getting ready to negotiate with a narcissist, grab my free negotiation, Crush My Negotiation worksheet. You can just get it at winmynegotiation.com. I made it like super easy for everybody to remember where to go get it. And if you like this video, give it a like, give it a share, drop me a comment, let me know you were here, or let me know where you're from. Me and everyone on my team, we love to see all of your comments, and so grateful for you, and so grateful for this community, and so grateful for the opportunity to be able to help you escape this relationship with the narcissist. I've been there too. I've had 2 covert narcissists that I had to wrench out of my life. It was not easy, and it was pretty awful. And that's why I have such a passion for helping you guys do the same thing. So I'm Rebecca Zung. Thanks so much for tuning in to this live stream. I will have a new video out for you tomorrow. So you're going to want to make sure you check that out. And then I will be back live again on Tuesday with my Ask the Attorney Anything session. So I'll see you then next time. Until then, remember, today is a great day to start negotiating your best life.